So I am sharing the screen.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So welcome everyone to the maintainer call. Uh, just trying to put the chat here somewhere. 1 second. Okay. So yeah, welcome everyone to the Hyperledger Identus call. Hi, Yuri. As usual, remember the antitrust policy notice from the Hyperledger, well, from Linux Foundation. And as well, remember to adhere to the Hyperledger Code of Conducts uh, as a participant of this community. As usual, just a reminder that we have identus.io as a quick short URL to get into the place where you can find all the information related to Identus, documentation links, roadmap, repositories, how to write POCs, how to request features, access to our calendar. Actually, I need to update that link. I think Fayad will talk about that later today. Also access to the recordings and a link to the community projects as well. So for today's agenda, the meeting I think is going to be relatively short. Um, as usual, introductions. I share a little bit of interesting things around the decentralized identity space that I find in the wild, and some updates related to the project. And of course, we are going to have our open Q&A or AMA, however you would like to call it. I think that we don't have anyone new in the call. I think this is all our usual people. So yeah, it's all our usual audience. So there are no introductions regarding news. So I found this a very interesting thing related to the Chrome browser that they have enabled a digital credential API. So basically, they are starting to enable features that relate to the matter of verifiable credentials. So they created this digital credentials API that allows web platforms to request credentials um, from wallets apps. So essentially, they have these Chrome origin trails. So they are like beta testing features that they enable. So you can go to Chrome and enable a flag in the Chrome configuration, and that enables features for you that are currently being experimental, we can say. So the interesting thing is that they are working with this API to integrate the Chrome browser with some sort of process to enable the request of credentials. As I understand, I haven't played with this, but as I understand, they are enabling this with the Android, the wallet that they have. So I will just share the link with you guys in the chat in case uh, someone wants to take a look on how to play with this functionality. But I guess the important part is that they are already embracing SSI technologies into the browser itself. So yeah, I share that with you so you can check it out. Then regarding project updates, well, we have the release version 2.13 that was released earlier this week. I think it was yesterday. Um, there are some, well, there is an announcement that Fayad made in the Discord channel. Um, you can check all the list of things that have been um, added with this new release. We have verification enhancements, um, It says that we have zero knowledge proofs fully supported in the KMP SDK. Apparently there was some sort of bug in there. New features, support for verification in the SDK with JWT revocation registry, a revocation mechanism for JWT credentials, cryptographic agility across Apollo and ecosystem. Um, there is an update on the status of the Prism node. So currently there is a security audit that is being taken in place, and the goal is to wait for that security audit to finish and sort anything that is identified. And after that, most likely we are going to have the Prism node code publicly available as open source. Yeah, there are some additional updates related to SDKs that you can see there. And yeah, you can, as usual, look at the full list of release notes that are here. Just let me paste that as well in case you want to check it out. As well, we have updated the roadmap accordingly. So you can see that we have now quite a few items as done that were released during this version 2.13. And we moved a few things from planned to in progress. Also, we have now this additional view here in the roadmap that is called milestones. And okay, I need to fix this. Just 1 second. This. There you go. So yeah, the idea of this view is that you are going to be able to see in what release a specific feature has been delivered. So you have an idea of well, how the features, if you are in the version that contains the feature that you may be looking for. So yeah, this is an additional view that we added there. And yeah, the feature boards is the same. We just updated and moved the tickets from one place to another accordingly. Other update, well, you probably are already aware of this, that Fayad made the announcement, but I just share again with you guys in case you missed it. The Atala Prism Sandbox now is working not in memory as we used to call it, but now is actually writing stuff in the Cardano testnet in the blockchain. So, well, that's good because it gives a more accurate representation on how the system is meant to work when you are using the Cardano blockchain as the BDR. So yeah, that's that. And the final update that I have is the Identus and DEPS working groups. Well, working group will start tomorrow. Fayad also shared the link on how to join the is this one. How to join the session tomorrow. It will start like 2 hours earlier from the current time. Adjust to your time zone. But yeah, it will start tomorrow. Everyone is invited to join. We pretty much we are going to start having discussions. Yes, I believe you need to create an account. You're correct to get the invitation. But yeah, we'll start tomorrow. We are going to start talking about some talking points that were provided by Henrik, I believe. And we will see how it goes. Part of the idea is learn how to perform as a working group. I'm sure it's going to be an interesting challenge, and probably it's going to be quite a lot of fun as well. And yeah, basically those are my updates. Well, the updates of the team that I had to share. And Fayad, you have a few topics to talk about.
Yeah, so last week we mentioned that we will be joining Intersect as a SIG. Turns out Intersect does have a SIG already, and we will be collaborating with them. In terms of their purpose, they've got a number of items. So they'd like to foster collaboration amongst organizations and individuals in the SSI and identity and trust space within Cardano. So it won't only be focused on Identus, but other identity solutions within Cardano. They'd really like to focus on real world use cases, create networking opportunities, promote innovative projects, help develop thought leadership, collaborate with external partners like Trust over IP and the Hyperledger Foundation, and then also identify potential catalyst or intersect proposals to benefit the members. So if this is something that you guys would like to participate in, please follow the thread on, I think it's on the Intersects Discord. I will post a link to that in the meeting minutes as well, so you guys can grab it over there. In terms of next steps, what's happening is they are busy developing a Gitbook. It's self-driven, and once it's released, we will share this with everyone else. They're also putting some frameworks in place, so I highly recommend you guys join the sessions, help us frame these frameworks, and yeah, make the most of it. Next slide is the one.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm gonna share my screen quickly. Uh, this one, yes. Cool. Can you guys see? Okay, so since Hyperledger has moved over to some new tooling, um, it's going to be a little bit complicated as we start, but they promise me it will be a slow transition. So what's happening is all existing meetings that we have already will be in your calendar. Any new meetings created going forward, for example, the working group meeting, you would need to register for that meeting. And how you do that is you click on this link over here. It'll take you to a page like this. You can basically see all the Hyperledger projects over here. You can determine which one you want to attend. So here's our one, Identity and Dapps. And you hit the register button. This will then ask you to register, and it will send a calendar. Sorry, it will send a meeting request to your calendar. And yeah, that's basically the process. If you guys do get stuck, I am going to post a link now in the chat to show you how to follow the steps going forward. Cool. Thanks, Esteban.
Okay, thanks to you. And yeah, basically that's the end of the updates that we have had. Now, if anyone has any question that would like to be addressed, is welcome to ask your questions uh, if you have any. Yes, Roberto.
Yeah, one quick question about the release of the new features in the verification from the SDK. So that means the Edge client will be able to do the verification. You don't need like a whole cloud agent to do the whole percent proof. I mean, you will be able to present proof between two Edge clients. Is that correct?
Yes, you are right, but you still need the agent for some stuff. So in case
Okay.
of unencrypts, for example, you still need the agent to give you the credential definition and the credential schema. In case of JWT, it's a little bit different because in JWT, everything is inside the JWT object. Plus the issuer deed contains the public keys already, so you do not need to resolve the deed.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay, so
on
so that
JWT,
will
like
work
offline.
edge to edge basically
Yes,
on JWT,
correct.
including the disclosures.
On JWT, everything is disclosed by default. I am working right now, literally, on the SD JWT one.
Okay.
And yeah,
Yeah.
including disclosed fields and so on. In anon creds, for example, disclosed attributes already work.
So in anon creds, you need the cloud agent to create the disclosure presentation.
Well, you need on several steps. So in order to create the presentation, you will need to get access to the definition and the schema. And in the same way, when you verify something, you need to get access to that same credential definition.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, basically you need to have access to these things, to these two.
On both cases. But okay, so I thought those were public, like those, the schema is, okay, well, they have to be anchored on the blockchain to trust.
Yeah, that's valid.
Yeah. All right, cool. I'm gonna try that out very soon. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Javi and Roberto. There is a question, John, about there may be a chance about another Pioneer program. I don't think that we are going to do another Pioneer program in the same way that we did in the past, but I see a chance of having some sort of training or sharing sessions that pretty much fulfill the same purpose of sharing the information. Maybe a little bit different, but probably we can work on about that. Yes, David?
I'd like to put this out to the community, since now the community really owns this. It's part of the Hyperledger Foundation, and IO is just a maintainer. I'd like to see the community come up with some thoughts on what training should look like and how we can best support other community members. We've put together documentation, and we're maintaining that. We've gotten feedback on that. We're making appropriate adjustments and with the quick start guide. But when it comes to programs like this really is a community endeavor. So I would like to really hear from you about how we can together create a program that draws people in and gets them up to speed quickly, and what sort of participation we can expect from the community as a whole to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, there is as well the effort that John and Roberto's team are doing related to the book. That also as well
That's exactly
ready.
the sort of thing I'm thinking about. The fact that we do have people who in the community who are actively involved in that type of training. So very excited about that, by the way. In fact, we mentioned that book at Rare Evo. It was it's a big deal.
Yeah, I think that is fun, but yeah, I guess I will talk with Fayad and work together, maybe as a little bit around to the people to see what they would like to spec, and also how they will can collaborate as well on building this kind of materials. But I mean, at least for my part, I'm more than happy to start something maybe more like conceptual. Usually it's the kind of thing that I usually presents to any newcomer to the space. And I think that I can coordinate with Fayad having a few sessions of that nature, just to get this started, and also working alongside with the community to see what other material we can create. Anything else? Yes, Roberto?
Yeah, so regarding that topic, because I went through the Pioneer program, and what you just said, I think that is super critical. That is a step, like the understanding SSI as a base concept is right now for us it's kind of a given. Like everyone here sort of understands what's going on, but everyone knew that shift, that mental model, update that they have to have, it's super critical step in order to just adopt the technology and start playing with it, right? Right now, I'm focused on the book, which is sort of, oh, you already understand SSI, so let's jump right into building an app with this platform, right? And that is great because that is one part where the documentation is, because of the nature of the whole stack, just the documentation alone, sometimes it's not as easy to follow and complete a thing or build an app. There's many things that are not technically related to the documentation, but are important in order to get something going. So that's the book kind of wants to fill that void, basically. But the Pioneer program, the real value that I got out of that was understanding SSI as someone that has had no idea at that point what that was, right? And getting that insight, that was critical because that kind of allowed me to start thinking everything in SSI terms, basically. Oh, I could solve like this and this and this and that with this technology, but I had to have that kind of part, or that knowledge or those insights. So I think that's still very valuable, and I would love to either try to come up with, I don't know if the documentation is the right thing for that, but sort of webinars or some video content that explains that, kind of similar to the Pioneer program, but that focuses specifically on that core foundational knowledge of the whole thing. I feel like we cannot forget about that. That is still a required, very important first step for everyone trying to get into this technology. Yep. David or Payat?
Well, I will say the following. I agree with you about the fact that people have to have a base knowledge of SSI, what it is, why it is, before
Right.
taking on working with Identus, or even, like, for example, working with your book, because your book really is about, okay, you can, this is how you take Identus and incorporate it into your applications, into your services, et cetera. And that makes a lot of sense. Question I have is as I look on YouTube, for example, there is a ton of video content on SSI, what it is, why it is, the standards, things like that. There's a lot of written content, both online and available in book form, on that very topic, and they are high level, but it does provide the core knowledge of how SSI should work. I don't think we want to reinvent that. I think instead, as a community, what we can do is we can have a list of what we see as really good resources to direct people to, and say, look, this is the starting place. Okay, this is the conceptual information that you need to understand before you dive into working with Identus. And that's a lot different than actually creating and curating and publishing that content. So I would prefer, and as a community, I'm speaking as a community member here, I would prefer to create a page that has those links, those resources, those preferred or those recommended places to go for that type of information. What does everyone else think?
Yeah, no, I think we can do that as well. The thing is that, especially when you are introducing this topic, there is a value when you can interact with someone who is explaining to sort out the questions. That also helps. And also, it's not a huge effort. I mean, I usually give these kinds of presentation. They take like 1 hour and a half to get the topic going. And I believe it's something that we can do as well. It's not going to be the material is already there. You just need to schedule a few sessions. It's not going to be, we can have it even do a few of them, maybe 2 or 3. just to get the people excited with the topic, I guess.
Yeah. And also like there's Discord too. And I feel like Discord should have like a newbie channel, like a place
Oh,
where
that's
you
a good
just
idea.
ask questions and like somebody like very, very new, start here. Like you can ask anything about SSI or like basic stuff. Like don't feel like you need to know, anything previously and just get the discussion going. Maybe something like that in the community, section, like a very newbie channel, like for everyone just joining and see, oh yeah, start here. Oh well, there's a start here, and it's full of links. But I mean, some place where there's a discussion going, and maybe we can have like, you know, like office hours sort of thing where the community is available to answer any questions to newcomers, something like that. So like that plus the resource, collection, curated resource collection, I think that would be, great. I mean, anyone could just start there and watch those videos, read those books, and get the discussion going easily. I feel that would be a huge improvement for anyone just joining the Identus community.
I think that's a great idea, Roberto. We have the Discord channel. We have the mechanisms.
Yep.
I don't think we want to take on the responsibility of creating the content that will help people with a basic understanding of SSI, but being able to interact with someone who can help direct, answer questions, things like that, I think is, to help them get over any humps or any speed bumps that they face is a really good idea. I like it.
Yeah, and we already do that. Like I already try to answer what I can from the cloud agent setup, a mediator, the SDKs, but that is already people just working on it. But it's the same idea for SSI basic concepts, basically, right? A place, where that discussion can happen. That used to be the Pioneer program, and just moving that into Discord plus resources, I think that worked.
Roberto, so I'm hearing two things. Maybe a channel, a dedicated channel, like a FAQ channel for newbies, where we have this sort of information, number one. And in your opinion, would it be more valuable as well to have like a video or technical workshop where we focus on getting developers starting with Identus as well?
Sure. I feel that, I mean, all that will help, but
What I'm finding at the moment is the majority of our community members are developers. So I'm just trying to think what would be best. And obviously I'm asking this to the community because I mean you guys would know what would be best going forward and how you would benefit from it the most.
yeah, I feel like that will help. But it's basically having a place where somebody completely new can start asking questions about the core knowledge that we already get. We've been here a couple of years. We have it, but somebody completely new will need that, and we have that in the Pioneer program. But this is like the new version, the updated version of that. And I agree, like there's a lot of resources on the internet. The real problem is just filtering through that and get the real good things. And we can do that as a community. We can curate all that content, and just select the ones that are actually, all right, you need to just watch that video or whatever. I've seen some of those already. I have like a list of stuff that a playlist that I save stuff about SSI, and the really important ones that I want to, rewatch or whatever, I have them. So we can start, building that, sharing that, and then just answering questions and inviting people, and the typical thing, just promoting over Twitter, and then getting people going.
Okay, cool. Oh, guys, I do have one more update that I forgot to mention earlier. On the 13th of November, 8 a.m. think it's PT, we will be having a technical workshop, like the basics of Identus. So if you guys are interested and wanting to learn, please join. More information will come out in the next few weeks. We're just waiting on Hyperledger to finalize the links, etc., and then I can share it with the rest of the community. But yeah, Roberto, thank you for that information. I have made a note of it, and that's something that we can start potentially putting together then.
Okay, thank you. We have Marcus.
Hey guys. Yeah, that was what Roberto just said was I'm just picking up the conversation that we had, Esteban. That was one of the reasons why I wanted to add this little add-in basically to the introduction on GitHub to the README. Because if you're in the bubble, it's easy to navigate. But if you're coming from outside, you just want to have a fast result, just a fast, quick overview. And sometimes even 3 lines more to read can be overwhelming. And if you are hopping into the example section or the docs, then sometimes this can be too much. And that's why I wanted to add a little tiny example for even for non-technical people to have a first overview in the README section. That's just been the reasoning for it. Not being in the bubble, being a newcomer to the topic, and having heard something about it and being told, hey, why don't you look into this SSI thingy and how it's being done?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's part as well of the same topic that David was talking about. Because I mean, one thing that is also true is that this topic is usually more complex than what people may believe from the first impression. And sometimes I feel like trying to make the technology excessively oversimplified gets into the trouble that people doesn't really grasp the nuance of the changing mindset that SSI requires. So what I have seen along the years is that even if you have the material and you have the sessions and the Pioneer program, it still requires quite a bit of effort to fully grasp the concepts. So yeah, I understand that sometimes people want to be able to, yeah, look at this one pager and be able to understand everything. But in this case, I believe that is not the reality. Usually when you try to make things too oversimplified, what you get is a person that misunderstood the concepts and the technology. So also there is a little bit of effort required at some point to really get into the correct mindset of, okay, now I'm really understanding. I get how this is. You need to put some effort into it. So yeah, there is a challenge. If you oversimplify too much, you get into creating fake understanding or not fully grasping the nuance. But also some people says that, okay, no, I feel frustrated because I had to read 3 more lines to get into this.
But doesn't that, like, isn't that building a barrier to it? I mean, that's what I'm hearing. Like, obviously building a barrier into it to say, don't understand it too fast because you might make errors. I mean, I'm comparing it to web development, and you have the typical JavaScript developer that just says, okay, I copy paste something that I found on the internet, and whatever happens to the user, I don't care. But if you want to work with that technology, you have to dive deeper anyway. So just to give a first glance of how it will be working somehow, just to get an idea how the data will be output, could give a nice entry point, because then I know from what my application should do from my end already, how I should provide the data, and then I can work from that, because then I need to dive into the specifics of what I should actually be able to transmit, and what should be a customizable field, or not obfuscating, what is omittable field. That's coming later. I mean, there's different thinkers, like brains do work differently.
Mhm. Yeah, let's hear David.
You know, it's an interesting problem, okay? Because no, we don't want to add barriers to entry. However, if you look at identity as a whole, digital identity, it is a minefield. There are privacy regulations. We think, well, SSI will solve that. Well, not really, because while SSI gives us the vehicles, the mechanisms to solve a lot of the issues that are now being regulated by nation states like the United States and in the EU and throughout Asia, digital identity, if implemented wrong, can give liability to the person who's serious liability to the person who's writing the applications. So, and SSI is not a cure-all for that. It provides the mechanisms to make it easier to comply. But there's still a lot that people need to understand if they're going to do digital identity right, and I think whether they're using SSI or not. So I think it is important that, yes, it is a complicated issue. We do need to make it as simple as possible. But there also has to be a level of understanding across the board for anyone who's implementing digital identity in their applications. Because it's not just about, hey, I'm going to give you the ability to have your own digital identity, present that digital identity, have a verifier, authenticate and verify that the person who's presenting that identity is who they say they are, and then selectively disclose information. It's about, are you complying with local and federal and international standards? So I understand that we don't want to raise the barriers of entry for people to be able to implement SSI, but it's also it's a very important topic to understand holistically. So there's I'm going to come back to, there needs to be some clear documentation, and there is on the internet quite a lot on this topic that we can direct people to, and then they can truly understand the issues around it versus just diving in and potentially finding themselves in a legal liability or a civil liability issue. I'm not trying to be someone who's proclaiming doom, but having been in this industry for as long as I have, I've seen a lot of bad digital identity implemented, and I've seen a lot of repercussions from it. So, I think it is important to truly understand digital identity implementation and how SSI can alleviate a lot of or help you avoid a lot of the pitfalls that people have fallen into the past. But those need to be spelled out, and people need to clearly understand it if they're going to start implementing this technology.
Mm-hmm.
But is this, sorry to come back to this, but is this a matter of the first 5 minutes to get an idea?
I mean, you can say that probably the first 5-minute idea, well, or the first way that people usually is introduced to the matter of SSI or decentralized identity is they go presented with the truth triangle concept. That usually is the entry point for everyone, and pretty much is the same on all the material you can find in the internet, videos and presentations and whatever you can imagine. The entry point is the truth triangle. So that concept is what is used to explain what the SSI or decentralized identity is about. I feel like even that model oversimplifies way too much. And well, later on, it creates a little bit of misconceptions that you need to work like in iterations when you are explaining this to someone. Okay, you start with the truth triangle model. You explain about the roles, issue holder, and verifier. And then you start talking about the protocols, like, okay, this is how you issue a credential, and there is a protocol, and why there needs to be a protocol, and why you have a different part of protocols. And then also you get into the discussion about credential formats and why you have a JWT and SDJWT and anon creds and why they are different. And you start getting into a rabbit hole. And you are not even starting to talk about how do you integrate this into your application. It's just the model. Then the discussion is to delve even deeper into the matter like, okay, this is the technology, this is the SSI stack. Now you need to get this and shape it into some sort of solution that integrates with your business problem. So you can see that very quickly is something that cannot be explained in 3 lines or 5 minutes. Yes, Yuri?
I just wanted to ask a question. Does it make sense to create a kind of course in Linux Foundation course catalog? How to use Identus platform? It might be one, some introduction course and some advanced courses for SDK developers and Cloud Agent users.
It may be. I mean, there is already one that is from Aries. I took that course years ago, and it's still relevant and super useful. That was pretty much what taught me a lot of the things that that I know are already.
No,
That
I'm proposing to do the same if it's possible. We can invest some time, and it will be a good replacement for the Pioneer program, and we can reference to this course as a golden source for beginners or advanced user.
Yeah, it could be an option to explore because other thing is that that will require resources, right? So it will be better if it's something that can be worked on, if it's this idea or any other, with the support from the community, right? Because we have the book that John and Roberto are working on. So for example, that is a material that is already being created and can be useful. So I guess maybe it's just a matter of collecting a set of resources that are probably already available and make them work alongside with the community, the documentation that we already have. Because I think the documentation is good. And there are quite a lot of concepts that are already explained in the documentation. It's not like we don't have them. Maybe it's a matter that maybe they doesn't resonate with everyone. Yeah. Are you raising your hat, Yuri?
Just another proposal. I propose to create a kind of community page in the Identus docs with useful links, resources, and other stuff that can help people to get up to speed with Identus platform.
Yeah, we can do that very easily.
That's a good idea.
We already have a page for community projects. We can do something similar with related material that is introductory. And that's very easy to do.
Yeah, I just probably don't like the idea to have different sources like isolate community, isolate our documentation. Currently, everything is open sourced, and I would encourage community members to contribute to the Identus documentation as well and fill the gaps that are missed from their point of view and have some collaborative efforts here as well. Otherwise, Atala Identus team will write Identus documentation, community will contribute to community documentation, and it will be hard to keep all this stuff consistent and relevant through the time.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes that is something that comes along with open source that you can't stop anyone else from creating additional material. Lately, I was trying to catch up with the Cardano smart contract development, and it's crazy. I mean, there is a lot of material from different sources. And yeah, I mean, there is official documentation as well. But yeah, we can try to at least try to contain a little bit. But yeah, actually, I was just looking at the documentation. Let me share this one. Because it's not like we don't have a material already available to try to grasp the concepts. Well, we have the quick start guide that is a little bit more technical in nature, but you can see that even here we explain a little bit of the truth triangle concept, and also we have these additional things in here that explain a little bit of reasoning behind identity, and it's like a mix of not only concept but also explains how the different components that Identus provides also address this from the technical standpoint. So yeah, maybe it's a matter of iterating from over what we already have and refining it further. So do we have anything else? If we don't have any more questions, thank you very much for joining. And remember, tomorrow the working group, if you want to participate, everyone is welcome. And I think that's all for today.
Thank you, Esteban. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Goodbye.
If
Bye. Bye.